Good evening, everyone. This is Dick Robinson, host of the M.R. Robinson Dinner, coming to you live from our New York headquarters with a virtual performance of the 88th birthday of the speech which was first recited by my father in Memphis in 1932. The pictures you have just seen are of him, but most of them are from when he was younger than I am now. Normally, I am walking around the tables at the NCTE in the ballroom, talking to all of you as you are enjoying your Thanksgiving dinners and remembering at least half of you from earlier dinners over the past 60 years in different cities, but knowing that we have not missed one of these in all that time. And I am thinking of tonight's event as just another chance to celebrate our commitment to each other and to the English teachers we have worked with over these 60 years. While I certainly am sorry not to see you in person, I feel just the same about the event now as if I were standing next to you and thanking you and saying hello and celebrating NCTE. We've received many messages from you in advance of the meeting, including one from our most constant attendee, John Manier of Pittsburgh, who is marking his 51st year of attending the M.R. Robinson events. Thanks to many others of you who wrote special messages on this evening. You saw many of them, including 4 past presidents of the NCTE and many others. So we and we also have the professional authors who've given so much to English teachers, and we want to mark their contributions too. And so now we will begin the speech. May we pause for a few moments for a repeat performance of the annual sponsor, who as in the past shall be nameless. In keeping with the tradition of this affair, there will only be one speech, and it will be brief. My name is Robinson. Tonight is the 43rd time I have given this speech, which was first recited in 1932 in Memphis. It was repeated 45 times by Robinson the Elder, who attended 56 NCTE meetings starting in Chicago in 1923, and gave a final performance of his speech in San Francisco in 1979. For Robbie, this party, his speech, and NCTE conventions form part of our personal bond with teachers in English classrooms. As he told us before he died in 1982, it was his deep wish to have this occasion continue. The M.R. Robinson Party, as we now call it, originally began when NCTE was held over the weekend of Thanksgiving. Before I started to give this speech, I heard it for 18 consecutive Thanksgiving days, starting when I was an English teacher at Evanston Township High School near Chicago. My first time ever to hear the speech, I was a high school student, and it was in Boston at the Statler Hotel on Thanksgiving Day, and Robbie stood on a chair like this one to deliver it. As those of you who have ever attended one of these parties well know, the original reason for this party and what prompted its beginning has been delightfully told by the founder of our nameless sponsor. He said almost identical words on 45 Thanksgiving days, then rattled off the names of city after city, which he called way stations, emphasizing those in which he had given multiple performances. But none of these speeches has ever been virtual until now. It is little wonder that Robbie labeled his speech unchanged, like his meager remaining hair, white with age, ancient if not venerable. And with that preface, here is his speech in his own words. When I first began to attend NCTE conventions in the flapping 20s, I became more and more distressed to see NCTE members eating Thanksgiving dinner alone, or in groups of 3 or 4 in the public dining rooms of the hotel. Thanksgiving had always been a very special day in my home, a joyful day, climaxed by a bounteous family feast. So another salesman and I, of course we called ourselves publishers, decided to do a little something about the doleful Thanksgiving days at NCTE. This college friend and I began to gather other friends together in a private dining room for a sort of family feast. The next year, more lonesome away-from-homers joined us. The news spread. More friends said, "Can't we come to the party?" And after that, the numbers grew, and where it will all end, I know not, but I hope it will not stop. The first time that this affair was organized in advance of the convention was when NCTE met in Memphis in 1932. We arranged ahead of time for a private dining room in the old Peabody Hotel. We had one big, beautifully cooked turkey with all the trimmings on the table. There were 14 or 15 persons present. Then and there, we all agreed that it was a delightful idea, and we made plans to repeat the affair the following year in Detroit. But none of us ever dreamed it would ever look like this. Anyhow, that's the speech. Many of you have heard it over and over again, but some of you have heard it for the first time. And may I ask how many of you have never before today attended one of our sponsors' Thanksgiving parties? I cannot see your hands waving out there, but I'm sure there are some first-timers. And as for you, we give this party, for at least you have not heard the speech before. It has been a tradition at this party to introduce a few special guests. Now may I continue this tradition and ask these friends to rise, metaphorically. Alfredo Lujan, President, Valerie Kinlock, Past President, Maria Franquiz, Vice President, Emily Kirkpatrick, Executive Director. And now will all the past presidents of this council who are watching please stand and remain standing, metaphorically, while I call your names. Ruth Klein, President, 1990. Beverly Ann Chin, President, 1996. Sheridan Blau, President, 1998. Kathleen Yancey, President, 2008. Kylene Beers, President, 2009. Carol Jago, President, 2010. Yvonne Sue Runyon, President, 2011. And Frankie Siverson, President, 2018. It is so important that you are here and recognized for all you have done for NCTE over the generations. And I want to especially thank Emily Fitzpatrick for organizing the virtual NCTE and for letting us have this moment to celebrate the 88th speech of your nameless sponsor. Thank you, Emily. As I have told you, the day before he died, Robbie, the founder of the speech and of our nameless sponsor, gave me a letter which he had written some years before, but updated the very day before he died. The statement of Robbie's was addressed to his successors in our organization and to you, his friends, as well. To remember and renew Robbie's mission this evening, I now read these words again, knowing that they will represent his real will and testament. And so I will quote from this letter which he gave me. All of you know that my constant wish and the incentive which created the driving power for me to carry on my leadership at our company was to make our company an outstanding educational force. As I hurriedly type this memo, I'm not in the creative mood to write out in the full measure I'd like the definition of such an unexpressive word as outstanding, a word I'd circle in red if I uncovered it in a manuscript. But you know what is behind the word. You know that I wish our company to be unmatched in scholarship, in objectivity, in clarity of expression, in brilliance of visual presentation of difficult subject matter. I wish it to inspire even the uninterested and reluctant reader. I wish it to stab awake the youngster who does not realize how easy it is for a society or social structure to disintegrate. And you know also how I feel about straight thinking and my oft-repeated request that we teach the kids about the non sequiturs by which they are so often led mentally and emotionally astray. How I wish to develop among our readers a genuinely healthy skepticism, even at the risk of creating more hopelessly useless cynics. All of this you know, and much more about my wishes for our company. I believe that my editorial associates all felt deeply the very thing I wish to perpetuate in the organization, that our editorial standards and our editorial integrity should not be sacrificed, for these things are more important than cakes and ale and luxurious living. If it has not been for the reputation we had built for integrity and for a genuine dedication in its finest sense, it should always be remembered that the nationwide influence of our periodicals and books is a sort of sacred public trust to be nurtured and directed. I don't mean it to be a constant defender of the status quo. That would be far from my style. But its power and influence should be used to help induce thoughtful approaches to the quality of life of all citizens. But whatever the future holds, even if it includes educational services to the occupants of spaceships. I hope you will never forget the standards I always tried, often unsuccessfully, to uphold. I have more confidence in you than I had in myself. My love to you all forever and ever. These were Robbie's final words to his successors and to you, his teacher friends, who share his mission and his hopes. I have been reading this letter as a tribute to Robbie since 1982. Its ideas are also embedded in our editorial credo and platform and then drive every member of our company all year long. But of course, this year they have special resonance. Robbie's plea to teach clear thinking and how to avoid being misled by false promises and non sequiturs sounds as if it could have been written last week. And now I'll turn to some thoughts about our 100 years. On October 22nd, 1920, 100 years and 1 month ago, your nameless sponsor published its first magazine, which briefly was devoted to high school sports. Urged by his former high school principal and other educators around Pittsburgh, the founder, Robbie, quickly changed his magazine to focus on contemporary literature and social issues for use in high school classrooms. These two themes of citizenship and literature have continued for 100 years. First, for children to understand the world through information, and second, for children to understand themselves through the joy and power of stories. This year 2020 has provided powerful lessons in citizenship as we focus on the importance of facts and logic and reasoning as a bedrock of our society. As you know from Robbie's letter, which I just read, he believed fervently that the only way our democratic society could prevail was if teachers helped young people to think clearly and solve problems by working together. His comments on skepticism reflected his own concern that young people need to focus on facts, arguments, and logic, and use their thinking skills to solve problems of society. Each week for 100 years, our magazines have dealt with current issues, presenting pro and con arguments and analyzing different approaches to solving problems. This is still our mission today in our print and digital magazines, which engage students through dealing with contemporary topics of high interest at all grades from pre-K to grade 12. A second theme, present from the first issues of the magazine too, was the importance of contemporary literature. In the 20s and 30s, authors including Willa Cather, Ernest Hemingway, and John Steinbeck were not then typically taught in high school, but forward-looking English teachers used the magazines to bring these authors into the classroom. In the late 1940s, as paperback books were being published and distributed through drugstores, your nameless sponsor started book clubs to bring children's literature into the classroom. It is hard to imagine now, but in those days, very few families had books, and children's books were known only in a tiny number of upscale bookstores and in some libraries. Our book clubs made paperback books widely available to young people through their teachers in the classroom for 25 and 35 cents. Children began to acquire books for the first time ever, and reading was expanded dramatically through teachers providing access to kids to real books they wanted to read and own, and a reading revolution took place in schools. So this is the second theme of your nameless sponsor, to provide widespread access to books and bring the power of reading to many young people who discover themselves in themes of great literature, while also buying joke books, animal stories, and romances that they love to read. Classroom teachers made these books accessible through our clubs to millions of children. Later, the nameless sponsor found authors such as Dave Pilkey, J.K. Rowling, Bob Stein, Anne Martin, Suzanne Collins, and Walter Dean Myers, and published their books for distribution in bookstores as well as through our book club and book fair channels in classroom libraries, bringing together children and books around the world. This year, as schools have closed and families throughout America have discovered how important teachers are to help their children learn and grow, the power of reading has once again been dramatized emphatically. TV commentators have been talking about reading loss, social emotional learning, the power of literature to create empathy and understanding, and the importance of books to overcome the months of frustration over remote learning. Many people throughout the country have become aware of the punishing effect of absence from school on a whole generation of children who will be left behind by not having access to teachers and books. As a result, states and districts have turned to us to work with them to send take-home packs of books to children's homes, as well as offering reading support through digital learn-at-home programs. We hear stories of teachers everywhere finding ways to get books to their children, including driving to their homes to bring them books they need, or asking us to ship directly to children at home, or delivering books to the places where children go to pick up their free lunches. As we all look back at COVID, we will be reminded of the absolute necessity of children attending school under the direction of a teacher to learn the skills and motivation they must have to succeed in school and in life. We will be reminded of the simple importance of making books available to children who otherwise have no reading in their lives. And we will be reminded of the emotional impact of being home and not having access to other children, to teachers, and to a stable and predictable school day where kids can count on learning about themselves and about their world. In short, many people have taken for granted the miracle of more than 50 million children each day for 180 days a year going to school and learning from the teachers and books and programs which expand their skills and their self-confidence, as well as their understanding of the world and themselves. For the past 9 months, many children have not had this experience, and their emotional and learning lives have shriveled up, and their futures have become a bit clouded and harder to see. Since the jobs of tomorrow require higher level thinking skills, and as the problems of our planet require our citizens to work together, and as technology becomes more dominant, children need more emotional development, collaboration skills, and understanding of self to become confident and successful learners. All this requires the in-person learning that takes place in classrooms under the direction of caring professionals. Teachers have always been the front line in helping kids develop their reading and learning skills, in learning how to think and how to reason, and certainly to pass tests. But teachers have never stopped there. They have understood that their students need role models, guidance, inspiration, hope, courage, and values. They know students need to develop academic skills, but also empathy and compassion. And they know how great literature can enable young people to understand bigger worlds, both inside and outside themselves. With us this evening are several authors of the great books we publish to help bring these bigger worlds to children, and we salute them for their stories which provide kids with the joy and power of reading. Thank you so much. And also with us this evening are more than 20 professional authors whose books provide to teachers new ideas for reaching the diverse students facing 21st century challenges. We are proud to make available their work to the many teachers we serve. It is our job, both as publishers and educators, to help our fellow teachers, to expand their horizons, to provide them with the information and ideas to do better work with their kids, and to ensure that more kids than ever in this new world of social distancing can develop the skills of reading and experience the joy and power of reading. In the words of Dana Price, a Kentucky teacher who is with us tonight, quote, our children need books, they need to read, they need all the many skills that reading helps to develop, like sequencing events, logical and critical thinking, predicting, etc. They need the experience of understanding another person. Thank you. In this life-changing year, our society is placing a larger responsibility upon us to do this even better. So the wide range of children we teach will be able to manage their own lives while building a better world for themselves and others to live in. All of this work is enabled by the passion of teachers to help children understand themselves and their world through the power of reading and learning. This remains our lifelong mission and purpose. And so we bring another NCTE party to a close tonight, knowing that this speech has served to bring teachers closer together, to encourage them to go forward with enthusiasm and hope, to help the children they serve, and to celebrate their work in supporting the reading and learning of generations of young people. Thank you all for this virtual evening with you. We look forward to seeing you next year in person, hybrid, or remote. for another celebration of the infamous speech from your nameless sponsor.